This week, we are joined by Oluchi Okinawa coming off a loss at UNC, but more well known right now for a super viral moment with head coach Brenda Frese. We're going to get into all that. But first, Oluchi, thank you for taking the time after the season to chat with us.
Thank you guys for having me.
You've definitely had a lot of interactions with Brenda on the sideline this year. I assume you never think they're going to go super viral. At what point did you realize after the UNC game that that clip had not just gone viral in the Maryland community, but really all over the sports world in the United States?
Yeah, well, right after the game, we were just waiting in the locker room, waiting to go into media, and that's when Rose like kind of nudged me, let me know, hey, like, there's a clip of you and Coach like going back and forth. It's getting some traction. Like you're likely going to be asked about it. So, I think that was the first moment that I was like, oh, okay, like someone's going to ask me about Coach and I's like her pep talk to me because I remember it vividly, But I think it wasn't until after everything, like we were on the bus, I was like looking at my phone, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this video's everywhere.
Do you think that in a moment like that, just kind of take us through because obviously you were this team's kind of leader all season long, and I think that your tournament play, both in the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament, maybe didn't necessarily at least match the standards you had set in the regular season. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, what do you think went into that conversation? Had you and Brenda had talks prior to the game about kind of what she needed from you? Like, why did that sort of pep talk happen? I'm just curious, like the lead up to it per se.
Yeah. Well, really, I would say more so like that standard kind of fell short for me in the NCAA tournament, just because the game prior, I only had played 14 minutes just because of foul trouble, but I did have like 7 points, which isn't typically like where the range I usually score in and whatnot. But I think then obviously leading into UNC, it was just kind of like it's one of those games where it's like you win or go home. So it's like that pep talk happened because it either happens now or never.
Definitely. I didn't want to. Also, I knew that you. I think you scored almost 30 against Oregon, but losing in the
Like,
first round of the Big Ten tournament isn't exactly like Maryland
yes,
standard per se.
no,
Uh,
it was, yeah.
do you think that when something like that happens, you talked extensively after the game. Brenda texted you, you said, and then you texted her back. I'm just wondering, like, when something like that happens, right, a player can take it almost two different ways, right? You can almost hear what the coach is saying and really try to process it, or you can kind of tune them out. Do you think your kind of want and need, you talked about Brenda coaching you hard, that's part of why you transfer here. Do you think that's why she felt comfortable enough to talk to you like that, whereas some other players, she might be a bit more withdrawn, I guess?
Yeah, no, I like in order for her to talk to me the way that she did, we needed to have had a relationship, which we already do. Like she already understands the kind of player I am, and most importantly, the kind of player I want to be. I've shared a lot of my dreams and aspirations, and she knows the version of myself that I want to be. And in order for me to get there, she really does need to apply the pressure, which I've told her numerous times that I welcome it. So that conversation only happens when both the player and the coach are on the same page.
Had you had other kind of pep talks during games like that so far this season, or was it just the circumstances that kind of led to it?
No, we have. And I think that's what makes it so funny because it was like, that's why I didn't think anything of it or didn't think about it going viral just because, like, she's spoken to me in that urgent manner before. It was the Michigan State game. So, like, we're not shy from open and honest and intense dialogue between us.
Do you just, I guess, when you first got here, right? Kira Lawson's a great coach at Duke, but that's not necessarily her style. She has definitely, I would say, just like watching her. I'm not in the locker room, so maybe you can speak differently to it. But Brenda's a different type of coach. I would say, just like watching the sideline demeanor. What was the first time you like interacted with her where you were like, okay, like this is a Hall of Fame level coach, like she's going to bring a different type of intensity? And was that something you guys talked about in the transfer portal, like recruiting process? And I'm just kind of trying to figure out when that really came to light for you in the off season and the early goings, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think every head coach operates differently. They bring a different factor to them and they just do things entirely in their own unique way. So, I wasn't looking for anyone else in Coach B. I think she's amazing as she is. And she's just, like you said, a Hall of Fame coach. And it's just so evident. And in our first conversation, just like because we spoke the night my name entered the portal, I knew I wanted to be coached by her. I just with the experience and the passion and just the attention to detail and everything that she does, I couldn't imagine myself being anywhere else.
Before we get back to the show, here's a quick word from our sponsor. The Catalyst to the Game is brought to you by Catalyst Hot Dogs. Catalyst brought the Jersey Dog to the DMV, featuring premium dry-aged Black Angus all-beef hot dogs made in Maryland, served with handmade toppings including hot onions, relish, and their signature Texas chili sauce. And don't miss their original garlic knot dogs. Catalyst always offers vegan dogs as well as gluten-free buns. Shout out gluten-free buns, because Catalyst has food for everyone. Find them in CQ Stadium in Section 14 and the Xfinity Center in Section 210. Tell the people a hot dog is a sandwich. All right, now here is more Under the Shell. I know you've talked about it a little bit, but how have you kind of dealt with the fallout from the game? Obviously, you guys don't beat UNC, but you have this moment where I assume you've heard from a lot of people, got a lot of attention online. I know you've talked about what that means for Brenda, but how has that been for you where, you don't get the outcome you want in a game, but maybe you get some more of some more personal recognition?
Yeah, I mean, so right after the game, just like as I told you when I was on the bus looking at everything, I actually texted Coach B and I was just like, like this is the only win out of the day. Like obviously we did not get what we wanted, but I'm just so happy everyone can see how amazing of a coach you are. Like so, I like there's nothing else you can really ask for. Of course, we wanted that win so badly, but I think this is kind of just like a silver lining moment.
One thing I wanted to ask you that I haven't seen out there is I think with some players you see, moments like that, maybe, and I don't want to say hard coaching, but intense coaching, right? And their parents, I think maybe, or their circle, like an AAU coach, they haven't necessarily been coached that way. And I think parents can oftentimes get defensive or kind of be like, that's not exactly what I want, right or wrong. Each parent parents their own way. I guess I'm just wondering, like, how have your parents or your inner circle kind of raised you to where that's something that you wanted? Like, did they talk with you about it after the game? Did they ask you? I'm just kind of trying to figure out how, you got to this point with them.
Yeah, I mean, for one, like my parents didn't really blink an eye. Like they were kind of on the same wavelength as me of like, wait, what happened? Why is this clip so special? Like it's just her coaching me. I'm just my parents, both immigrant Nigerian parents, so I like this.
Yeah.
Getting hard coaching, getting hard talking to is like that's been my whole life, and I think they've just instilled in me the respect to elders and to people, especially when like the things like this, people have to understand it's out of love. Like if someone isn't speaking to you like this, then there's a problem. Like the fact that there's such a want and a need to try and help me get to the version of myself that I want to be, and I voice that I want to be. It's really special.
I want to move off the moment now and more so talk about your season. Obviously, we talked to you, Brennan. What, it had to be like 5 or 6 months ago now. It feels like a while ago, entering the year, and you kind of didn't even know if you were going to be in the starting lineup. You were just like, yeah, like we'll see. It just depends on that type of thing. It's something you wanted, you said, but you weren't sure. Obviously, you blew away, I think, all expectations. You had a stellar year. If you had to pinpoint one thing about your game that really took a leap this season from your time at Duke, what would you highlight it as?
That's I think just because I played so differently here this season. I think largely because of the offensive system we're in, where there's a lot more freedom and a lot more. Okay, here, like now go do something with it. So I think for me, just my creativity in scoring really developed, like I still have ways to go. And I'm such a big believer in diversifying your scoring, like diversifying like the way that you put the ball in the hoop, just constantly like keep your defenders guessing, like I don't want to have it just be a one trick pony, So I think this season, what really like blossomed was just my offensive creativity and how I would get my points and how I was also able to help get other people points in my assists and in my drawing of defenders.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you about because Really interestingly, your 3-point shooting went down. I mean,
It did.
0.4 point percentage is not that big of a difference, but from your
Mhm.
freshman year, definitely a drop. But your 2-point scoring and your finishing around the rim took a massive jump. Was that something you prioritized in the offseason? Do you just think that came with getting more experience at the college level? Like now you're bigger, stronger, more athletic, or was that like crafty finishing and like you said mentioned finding different ways to score? I think I noticed a couple times this year you had some really unique finishes through traffic. Was that something you prioritized in the off season, would you say?
Not necessarily. I think that just came from a feel of the game, like being in the game. Obviously, like this was the most amount of minutes I played this season. Um, I just think it was like playing for as much as I did and playing against who I did because the Big Ten is obviously one of the most competitive conferences in the country. It was just like everything kind of started figuring itself out on. So I think also too, I started taking deep breaths when I got to the kind of got rid of that underclassmen habit. Because, like you said, it's my third year. I'm bigger, I'm stronger, but most importantly, I'm more knowledgeable now. So I just think that's what led to my higher 2 point percentage.
So would you say like it wasn't necessarily like I that your game per se like changed drastically. You just got a bigger
Mhm.
role and you kind of stepped into the type
Yes,
of thing that you always thought that
exactly.
you could do essentially.
100%. I feel like, and obviously, like I'm already thinking ahead to next year. There's just so many things that I want to work on my game, and so many changes that I want to see actualize itself for next season. But like, of course, I still for sure took a jump from sophomore year to junior year. But I do credit a lot of that to the role I had here, and most importantly, the opportunity I had here.
You mentioned some of those changes you want to make maybe in this upcoming offseason. Going to have a little bit of rest first, I'd imagine. What are some of those changes you want to make to your game? What are you going to be focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of different avenues. It's from my ball handling to my decision making to my standstill 3 point percentage, and of course my mid range. Those are just some of them. Like there's a lot of different aspects that I want to keep on hitting, but I think those are ones that I showed like flashes of this season, but I want to get more consistent.
Have you and Brenda had your end of season meeting yet?
No, not yet.
What do you think she's going to tell you she wants to see? Like, what do you think that conversation is going to be like?
I mean, we've already like touched on it a little bit in terms of the things I said,
Yeah.
like because we talk a lot, so it's like that's already been brought up. But like for sure, our end of season meeting will really divulge and like go deeply into okay, like hey, like this isn't not only like is this what I need for next season, but here's how in the off season we're gonna get me there.
Yeah.
So
One thing that I noticed that you were doing a lot of, especially toward the end of the season, was kind of being the primary ball handler, right? Like you were creating a lot. And while that did come with increased assist numbers, you still had more turnovers than assists.
yeah,
In the off season, when you're not playing as much 5-on-5 as you are in season or whatever, I guess I'm just wondering from a player's perspective, how do you improve on like making reads, like understanding how defenses are going to shift? Because not playing in a full speed type of way,
mhm.
I guess, in 5-on-5, I would just imagine it might make it a little difficult. So I'm wondering like how you, your trainer, Brenda, might go about like improving those type of reads you talked about.
Yeah, easily film. Like film is, I mean, one of the best coaches that there is because it doesn't lie. So I think watching myself, but also watching other people who are at the level that I aspire to be at is going to be very helpful. And I'm just going to be able to see and know, okay, I can take this and add this to my game, and take this and add this to mine. And obviously just familiarizing myself with the typical reads that you see in game, even though all plays are not made alike, but there are some, repeated nuances that I do really want to make sure I get.
You mentioned some of that hard coaching is to help you, you know, realize and see some of your more long term goals in basketball after playing at Maryland. What are some of those goals?
WNBA easily. Like Coach B, like she produces pros. That's not an opinion. That's a literal fact. And I am trying to be one of the next pros that she produces. So that's why everything looks the way it does. From her coaching me the way that she is, and just from the conversation that her and I have.
Have you talked to any of the Maryland players in the W? I mean, or even professionally, Diamond, Brianna, even abroad with Abby Myers, Cheyenne, I don't know. Like, have you got to chat with any of them or pick their brain?
No, I haven't had the opportunity to pick their brain. We went to one of AT's games here when they played the Mystics, so I thought that was so extremely cool to be able to see her like live in action, But no, I haven't had the opportunity to really pick brains.
Have you thought about doing that? Like, I guess in the future, like just trying to, as you get into your now senior season, the draft is obviously going to be probably on your mind, like trying
Yes,
to understand and like figure out what exactly you would want to figure out from W players.
for sure. Like that's definitely something I can see myself doing. I typically just pick Coach B's brain and
Not a bad
the coaching
person. Not a
staff.
bad
Yeah.
person.
So I mean, like, I just go right to the source, like what do I need to do? But yeah, I mean, as long as I'm getting my insight, my advice and being told what I need to do in order to get to that goal of mine, then I'm all set.
For next year, you guys are losing a lot of talent, right? Sailor, Yarden, big pieces of your starting lineup. Mir, who really came on at the end of the year. But you do have Addie Mack coming back, who I think really played well. You got some players coming back from injury, Bree and Kayleen. I'm curious, how do you think you fit alongside Addie in the backcourt? I'd imagine that's kind of, when you look at the roster next year, that can easily see being a really good starting backcourt in the Big Ten. How do you guys think your play styles fit? Because you both are scorers at heart, right? We had Addie on a few weeks ago, and that's like, she called herself like, I'm a scorer. I want to get better at distributing. That's kind of one of my big things. But I'm just curious, like, how do you guys see yourself fitting with each other next year?
Yeah, I mean, Addie and I, like, we've already, like, obviously having this season under our belt in terms of playing with each other, we understand both of our tendencies, and I think it's going to be great because anytime you play again with someone that you have so much history and chemistry with already, it only just keeps on getting better because you only keep on understanding how they play better. So I think it's going to be great. A lot of great talent returning, and like always, the coaches are going to do an amazing job and really putting together an A-list roster.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. You going to be doing any portal recruiting this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do. So
My guy,
we'll just.
my guy Brendan here was saying, Brenda should just be posting that clip over and over and over to try to.
It's a great recruiting tool, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Get some portal heads up in college.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very well. Well, Oluchi, thank you so much for taking the time, and hope you get some rest to start off this offseason.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for having me.